Hey guys, welcome to another top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 classic movies most people haven't seen but should see. This is an interesting list because I want to talk about certain classic movies that I consider amazing, great classics, but anytime I will talk about them to say my friends or anyone I know, not many people have seen them or even heard of them. So here's my top 10 list for classic movies most people have not seen but should see, in my opinion. Coming at number 10 is The Thing from Another World. The Thing from Another World is a 50s horror film, and anytime you ask someone what comes to mind when you think of a horror film called The Thing, they think of John Carpenter's The Thing, which is the remake of this particular film. And yes, that remake is the more superior version since it's more scary, it's more iconic, it has better practical effects as well. But I still think The Thing from Another World is a decent horror film that has the same premise as John Carpenter's The Thing. So if you enjoyed John Carpenter's The Thing, check the original Thing from Another World out. Coming in number 9 is the original Scarface. Anytime someone talks about Scarface, they talk about the 1983 Brian De Palma film with Al Pacino, which yes is the more superior version since it's more iconic, has quotable lines like "Say hello to my little friend," and it feels more like a violent gangster film like they should be. What I don't know is that it's a remake of this early 30s gangster film of the same name. And this version is again, like The Thing from Another World, it's pretty good with a similar premise, just different character names, and Boris Karloff also has a good supporting role in this film, so if you love the 80s version of Scarface, definitely check this original version out. Coming in number 8 is Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid. Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid is a late 40s romance fantasy film about this guy called Mr. Arthur Peabody and his wife who catch a mermaid called Leonore when going on vacation. I think the performances in this film are pretty good and the black and white cinematography is great too, and anyone who's a fan of mermaid films and loves mermaid films should definitely check this film out, as I think more people need to check this underrated gem out. So if you haven't seen Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, check it out. Alright, number 7 is The Children's Hour. The Children's Hour is a terrific film starring Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine as two friends who are kind of accused of being lesbians by a young girl who kind of thinks they are. It talks a lot about homosexuality very well, and it's pretty dark at times too. And James Garner is great in it as well. I won't spoil it too much, but go and check it. Go and see The Children's Hour if you haven't yet. Number 6 is Darby O'Gill and the Little People. This is a very overlooked live-action Disney film which, anytime you talk about live-action Disney films, they talk about most of the big ones, like Mary Poppins, Benobbs and Broomsticks, Enchanted, and others. But this is one about Darby O'Gill and the Little People is one that no one talks about or even remembers, or has even heard of, and I think people should check it out. It stars Sean Connery in one of his early roles before playing James Bond. It has a good story set in Ireland, which I won't spoil the story since not a lot of people have seen this film, but check it out if you haven't yet. It's a good one. And speaking of live-action Disney films, number 5, In Search of Castaways. This is another really good live-action Disney classic starring Hayley Mills. It has a good tale about worldwide search for a shipwrecked sea captain. I've only seen it once a couple years ago, so I definitely need to rewatch it more, but I remember liking it when I watched it, and when I watched it once. And George Sanders, who was Shere Khan in the original Jungle Book, is also in this film as a villain, so if you've not seen In Search of Castaways, do yourself a favour, check it out. Speaking of Hayley Mills, coming at number 4 is Pollyanna. Pollyanna is another delightful film that I've only watched once a couple years ago, but I remember enjoying it. This is a good film about the story of a cheerful orphan called Pollyanna changing the outlook of a small town she lives in. Hayley Mills is good in this film as the title character Pollyanna, And I won't spoil most of it, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. Coming in number 3 is Silverado. This is a very underrated old school 80s western film that I know a few people have seen, but I think more people need to check this film out. It's directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who directed Empire Strikes Back, and it has an awesome cowboy story and great performances from Kevin Kline, Danny Glover, and Kevin Costner. Also Scott Glenn, John Cleese, Jeff Goldblum. An amazing score. If you've never seen Silverado, you're missing out. Go and check it out. Alright, number 2 is The Bishop's Wife. The Bishop's Wife is a great Christmas classic with Cary Grant, who is one of my favourite classic actors. Like, he's got a lot of great films, like North by Northwest, To Catch a Thief, Notorious, Charade, Gunga Din, The Philadelphia Story, Bring It Up Baby, and The Awful Truth. I love his movies. And this is one of my favourite films of his where he plays an angel who plays an angel who helps a bishop, played by David Niven, who asks for divine intervention with his mission to build a cathedral. It's a really good film that I watched last Christmas, and I think it's a delightful film that I think most people need to see during the Christmas season. It's so good when it's December. Check it out. And speaking of Cary Grant, the number 1 classic movie that I think most people haven't seen but should see is Suspicion. Suspicion is another one of my favourite Cary Grant films, but also one of my favourite Alfred Hitchcock movies. And speaking of the latter, anytime someone thinks of Alfred Hitchcock, what are the first films you think of? You think of Psycho, Rear Window, The Birds, sorry about that, guys, Vertigo, North by Northwest, and any other like his big films. But no one ever thinks of Suspicion, and I think people should. I mean, it has a clever story that stars Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine as a married couple where one thinks the other is a murderer and is suspicious of that person. It's a brilliant film with a clever story, and not many people have seen this film, but I'll say this. Go and check it out if you haven't yet. It's an amazing Hitchcock classic. So yeah, those are the top 10 classic movies that most people haven't seen but should see. So tell me in the comments, what are some classic movies that you think are great but most people haven't seen, but they should see them, they should check them out. Tell me down in the comments, and tell me that thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.